Hey guys, how's it going and welcome back for another Total War video with the Terminator. Today I'm doing a mod spotlight on a specific mod for Rome 2 Total War that's been on my list for a long time. Rome Total Realism 4 doesn't aim to make things more historically accurate or add hundreds of new units or anything like that. The main objective of this mod is to make Rome 2 more functionally realistic while keeping to a vanilla type experience. Now we're gonna get into exactly what this means and all the features around this fantastic mod in a second, but first, I'd like to quickly thank all my YouTube members and subscribers who've donated over the last few weeks. You guys are awesome, and I'm seriously grateful. Also, I've got a Total War screenshot competition going on right now in my Discord with great prizes, guys, including free Steam keys for Shogun 2 and Medieval 2. So if you're interested, get in there and start sharing your best screenshots. Now let's get started. Rome Total Realism 4 has been on the Steam Workshop for just under a year now, but it's already made so much progress towards a Rome 2 that plays and feels just straight up more realistic and more fun. From corruption to unit recruitment to building effects, the campaign has seen adjustments all around to make various mechanics need a bit more management without being too tedious. Take public order, for example. You'll notice that it's generally much easier to have a higher public order growth per turn, but the higher the public order is overall in a region, the more difficult it is to maintain. Or army recruitment, which is not based on Imperium level anymore. It's based on how many military recruitment buildings you have. So the idea is you can't just build more armies the bigger you are. It's not handed to you on a silver platter anymore like that. You actively have to think about where to have recruitment buildings and prioritize them as you grow to be able to start more armies, which you have to admit is definitely a more unique and engaging system compared to vanilla. I played my first campaign with the Seleucid Empire and realized because I've only got one recruitment building, I can only have 2 armies and I can't recruit anymore. What this means is with Egypt and all its allies and the Anatolian factions declaring war on me pretty quickly, as well as the looming threat from my satrapies being quite unhappy with me, you can imagine that only having 2 armies and not being able to recruit anymore presents a pretty interesting challenge. So there's an added layer of difficulty built into the mod through changes just like this, and the end result is good too. It doesn't detract from the experience, it definitely makes it better. And this is just scratching the surface of the RTR4 campaign. Food production is far more important for unit replenishment, public order, and even political characters who might decide you're not fit to rule if you're not even producing enough food in the empire. Having characters with high influence may be good for public order and overall political power, but opposition parties will hate you even more for it. And your actions in the campaign have a big impact on how other factions view you. A great example is if you go and start razing or looting cities, some factions may praise you for your warmongering, while others will despise you for it. While we're on the topic of diplomacy, the AI has also seen some pretty hefty tweaking to seem more realistic. Trade agreements won't usually be accepted by unfriendly or neutral factions anymore, so you're heavily incentivized to use other means to gain their favor, which is pretty nice to see. Your AI allies will declare war on your enemies more often and be aggressive about it, and enemies that are losing wars will sue for peace a bit more, which is already good to see. I'd say there's still a bit of tweaking here and there to make the AI balanced in their behavior, but overall it works. There is one area on the campaign though that still very clearly needs some improvement, and that is auto-resolve. I've always found vanilla Rome auto-resolve to be just a bit too easy, as with any vanilla campaign really in Total War. After a while, you can just pretty much steamroll the entire map, and you do that by auto-resolving everything. So what the main modder Jam has done here is try to make it more difficult to do this without making it seem tedious. But so far, it is tedious. I found that I have to fight every single battle I play, which for the most part wouldn't be a problem if it was realistic, but being forced to fight a battle where I have 1,000 decent soldiers versus a 400-man garrison is just a bit too much. So just so you're aware, I think this is still an area that needs a bit of work. But other than that, honestly, everything is really well done and interesting. Promoting characters doesn't cost money and makes them more loyal, but they get a lot more influence, so could lead to issues in the long term. Taxation bonuses have been removed in favor favor of character traits and skills so that their presence has more of an effect on the province, and building and tech trees have seen some changes here and there to reduce unnecessary repetition, to give more interesting penalties, and honestly have a more impactful effect on your economy in the long term. And then there is the battles, guys, and there are two main areas of changes here. The first is unit stats and visuals. Many units have seen new or updated visuals across the board, whether it's armor or weapons, with some factions like Armenia getting a full roster overhaul completely. All the assets used are from in-game, so there's nothing new here per se, but it still freshens them up and makes them look more realistic, which is great to see. The unit stats are individual for the most part, but there are some major changes as well. Cavalry speed has been reduced to limit the bulldozer effect of charging, infantry armor and melee defense has been buffed up, and even naval units have seen some massive changes to make naval battles a bit more engaging and a bit more of a challenge. The second big change is the morale system. It's been completely replaced by something we call unit cohesion. It's essentially the same system, but a lot more dynamic, and I mean a lot more. If your unit is holding its formation, it's on the front line, and it's killing against a weaker unit, then cohesion is going to be fairly in a good place. But if the unit starts getting tired, if it gets flanked, if it's taking casualties, you will immediately start seeing disordered cohesion, loss of formation, and this affects the unit's combat ability quite a lot. And the only solution really is to order a quick tactical withdrawal and reform your formation. It's a brilliant change to morale and honestly entirely changes the way you fight battles. It's way more dynamic than before. And all of that is really good, but there is one area that is still slightly lacking in this mod, and that is the battle AI. It's a difficult thing to mod, especially in Rome 2, and while in some ways it actually has been improved, like threat assessment or the way the AI protects the general, but in other ways it's just not that great. Enemy cavalry is often thrown away to your front line, enemy archers don't respond enough to your own cavalry flanking, and often you'll get the feeling that the AI doesn't really know how to use this cohesion system, which is a bit of a shame. It means you can essentially make good use of having massive numbers to flank around the edges of the enemy front line and break down the enemy cohesion bit by bit. Now, don't get me wrong, battles are a lot of fun and are definitely improved compared to vanilla, especially with all the stat changes and cohesion management versus a larger enemy force, but there's still room for improvement. Overall, though, I think you can see Rome Total Realism 4 is absolutely a mod worth checking out. The changes to campaign mechanics, AI behavior, and economy and political systems are brilliantly done and well polished, and the battles are absolutely more strategic, especially when outnumbered. I'd compare RDR4 to Parabellum, where you're still playing a mostly vanilla Rome 2 Total War, but with tweaks and reworks that essentially fix mechanics that don't make much of a difference and make battles take a bit more planning and micromanagement, which is always a good thing. In the over 6,000 mods that are available for Rome 2 Total War, I definitely recommend you check out Rome Total Realism 4. Finally, it's important to remember that this mod is still in early days, but for how young it is, it's already achieved so much. It's a really nice fresh take on what Rome 2 can do on both the campaign and the battles, and the main modder, Jam, has so much ambition to make it even better, so expect more updates in the near future. And that's it for today, guys. I've dropped a link to the mod in the video description below, as well as a link to the official Discord server if you want to talk to the modder directly, leave feedback, or find out about future updates. Hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative. Subscribe for more Total War content, gameplay, and news, and consider supporting me directly by becoming a member, signing up on Patreon, or buying me a coffee. Any and all support is greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.